Welcome to the Marketing Automation Hustle podcast, where we break down the essential strategies of email marketing and automation to help e-commerce brands hyper-personalize their customer journey and increase sales on autopilot. So get ready to automate your marketing like a pro with SendLane's brand marketing manager and your host, Caitlin Hutchinson.
Hey podcast listeners, welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Automation Hustle. It's been a while since we released a podcast. As you already know and you're experiencing yourselves, we're living through some very strange and challenging times right now. As you can see, things look a little different around here, and that's because the world is a little different right now. And we've been remote here at SendLane for a while now. We're making it work. And during this whole COVID-19 pandemic, we've really been discussing the impact it's had on the world, on us as individuals, but we've also really noticed, because of the space that we're in, the effect that it's had on e-commerce as a whole. So that's something we really wanted to dive into today. And of course, I need guests. They're ready to go. I have Jimmy, our CEO, on the call. Hello, Jimmy.
Hello, hello.
And Amir, he is our strategic partner manager. Hey, Amir.
Hey, guys.
And real quick, before we dive into our topic on, COVID-19 and its effect on the e-commerce space, I want to remind you guys that he was also the host of our video series that we did called The Commerce Roundtable. It was pretty awesome, and you can watch all those videos at thecommerceroundtable.com. We also have all of the audio at on our podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can stream the audio there as well. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew all about that. So thanks, guys, for jumping on.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
We have Amir out on his patio. That's where he's residing right now.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Last 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
How are you guys doing?
9 weeks. Yeah, I'm good. Just excited to always be able to kind of share to the world about how our thoughts are on the situation, and hopefully we can help somebody kind of navigate through it. And that's kind of a really good way to kind of use this time to kind of go out there and talk to not only customers of ours, but our future potentials, or just general people in e-commerce as well too.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. It's a weird time to be, thinking. You would think, hey, you know what? This is, there's so many things to kind of distract us, but ultimately, and as we're going to discuss, e-commerce is changing so rapidly, there's a huge opportunity here. So.
Yeah, we were, obviously we've had a lot of downtime lately. We haven't been in office. We normally like to record all our podcasts in our nice little fancy studio and have everyone come in. So we've definitely been missing putting out some content. So we were all kind of chatting about how this would just be a really good topic, because this whole pandemic has really, sped up the transition for a lot of people to e-commerce. Yeah. And I know for Jimmy and Amir, they're talking to our customers on a daily basis. So I'm sure you guys know firsthand how it's affecting a lot of businesses.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's pretty interesting, just like what we're kind of seeing out in the market right now, especially with companies. As Caitlin kind of said, it's been a really interesting time and a challenging time, especially with a lot of the things that we knew and thought we knew has kind of changed. But fortunate for us, and it's been fortunate for us as a company that's kind of in the e-commerce space, that we've been able to kind of navigate through it and continue to help support our merchants and help support the businesses to continue to grow. And it seems like a lot of people are putting a lot more effort into the email marketing channel, which has been really big for us as well too. And a lot of people are kind of starting now with the e-commerce side of things. But besides even thinking about our company, I think what's even bigger that's happening right now is buying habits are changing so dramatically right now. And I think that should be the point of this entire thing, that everybody listening to this podcast should realize that there's the newest generation of people, and it's actually not the new generation, it's the oldest generation of people. I'm talking about the baby boomers or older, who are turning and changing and realizing that there's an entire place to buy online. Start off with the story. I think it's really funny. My parents, they're traditional first generation parents that, especially those listening that have that first generation, like immigrant story. they don't know anything about the internet. As far as they're concerned, the internet, there's only one thing you could have done on the internet, which is chat with their friends in Korea, and that's literally the only thing they knew how to do. They're master text messengers, but that's all they know how to do. And I remember them calling me just a couple weeks ago when it first kind of kicked off, and they're like, guys, Jimmy, like, I went on this thing called Amazon and we ordered stuff and it showed up at our door and it was here in like 2 days. Like, wow, this is great. Is this what you guys do for business? And like, bless my parents, they just don't get what I do for business because it just doesn't resonate with them. But that's exactly the type of people that are changing their buying habits right now. Another story that I thought was interesting was I was sharing this story actually to Dean, who's our controller, and he's a little bit older, and his parents, much older, obviously, than all the generation. He was telling us how he set up his mother with Amazon Prime, and now she orders on Amazon Prime for what she needs because he couldn't be there. He didn't want to risk her because she fell into the demographic of people who would be most effective. So he wanted to minimize exposure. So the way that he realized was to set her up on a Prime account and setting her up. And like now she's ordering online. These are new people that people have never seen online, and people probably don't even have email addresses at 50% of the time. I know people are out there installing internet, they're using your phone. But what's even bigger about this is even just like the way that people are kind of realizing that like they don't need to go to the store. So I think this evolution has been happening for years. And as everybody has kind of said, there's been mass acceleration that's happened as well too, which is even crazier to it. And like I know Mir and I have really talked about this, is like there is just mass acceleration behind it. I mean, Amir, you told me about the Shopify, Toby over at Shopify, the CEO there, and how he was out there gloating about things. I think you could probably elaborate on it a little bit more, but about how the transformation of online and how people are moving online faster than ever. So Amir,
totally.
I'm sure you've got plenty to talk about in that space.
Yeah, I mean, so there was like I saw and I think I sent it to you at one point, Jimmy, where it was a kind of like a graph of retail penetration into retail versus e-commerce. And if you look at the trends every year, we're talking about 1% to 2% maybe shift over from more people going online. And we're not talking about a short amount of time either. We're talking over like a decade, right? And even then, over that decade, the amount of people that are actually buying mainly online versus retail is like 22% max. So it's barely breaking. It's not even a third of shoppers, right? Within like 2 to 3 months, Shopify saw that number spike 10%. So that means that there's a massive amount of new volume, like Jimmy kind of touched on. And what's really curious to me is that all of these people going and buying these products online, while this is happening, everybody else that had a brick and mortar business is now saying, hey, I'm going to miss the boat. If I'm not online, if I'm not taking advantage of this new channel, I'm going to miss the boat. And by the way, we see it in the most different ways that you can imagine. It's not just what you might consider product driven. It can be even on the services end. We had a client sign up because he teaches piano lessons. And for 30 years, this is a guy, by the way, who's a studio musician, who's worked with like Slash and all these. Anyway, he's a big news guy, right? In New York City, years and years, he's been teaching lessons. For the first time ever, he actually said to me, I never thought this was a good idea because I don't need to go out and look for students. But for the first time ever, I've realized if I do this online, I can make way more money. I can expand my reach in a much bigger way. So it's a whole new world that's opened up for him to teach. Because now he doesn't have to teach just in New York City. He's just expanded his marketplace. So that we're seeing that happen all over the place. So there's this, I don't think people have even really kind of dug into how major of a shift this is for e-commerce just yet. I think we're just at the beginning of it. I'll be curious to see, what brands go direct to. Because, Jimmy, am I wrong in saying that, like, prior to this, like a year ago, D2C only was becoming not trendy? Like there were D2C only, like brands that launched purely online, like Brandless, remember? Launched purely online, didn't work out for them. And it's like, in a weird way, we just saw some kind of weird 180 where now all of a sudden brands are like, I need to be a D2C brand.
They say, what I think was interesting what you just said was they say that things happen too early pretty often in the entrepreneur world, especially in the startup world. I think this is a prime example of wrong place, wrong time. Imagine if they were just 1 year behind there. They'd be blowing up right now and they'd look like one of the best heroes in the world right now. But because they were just there, it's just the timing was off again. We look at, him and I, Amir and I, we've talked about like random things from like, the crazy story of what's the blood guy, a woman, Therion,
Theranos, right? Yeah.
Theranos, that's what it is, right? Theranos. I hope
Theranos with
Theranos. Yes,
Elizabeth
her. Like,
something.
I look at her and yes, she was absolutely crazy or whatever it is. Whatever her thought process was, I'm not here to bash her or anything. But one thing I will say is she was too future thinking. Yes, she had an idea. It couldn't be done, but there was an idea. And 10 years from now, there will be the same person that comes out with the same idea and it'll be successful and they'll be the greatest person in the world because they figured it out, right?
Totally.
That's the exact thing that's happened to a lot of D2C companies. There was this big thing where everybody wanted to be D2C, but trying to grow a D2C brand, especially when you don't know what to do to grow that brand and you don't have enough funding and you don't have enough money and inventory, it's hard, right? And so a lot of people look at it and say, oh, it's easier just getting Target or Walmart to accept my brand and putting it into their stores. And they'll make the sales for me. They'll order it and they'll do all the advertising for me.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy, one of the things that kind of comes to mind with me when you're talking about this is if I'm a brick and mortar business at this point, and we're talking about timing, right? So you just made a really good point about timing. Do I dive into this? Do I just say, hey, I've got to make a play here? Like how? I mean, it's really interesting to think about a small time store that says to themselves, we're not going to have any more foot traffic. We're a bakery. We need to go online. If we're going to be able to do this, we need to be able to ship our cakes, around the world. So immediately you have to start thinking about logistics of shipping your cakes. Immediately you have to start thinking about how do I advertise my storefront? I mean, there's a whole new world. Like, how do you even approach it being a traditionally brick and mortar business to going digital? Which, by the way, I have to say, people watching this, Jimmy's got a very unique perspective here. Jimmy ran a brick and mortar while also doing digital. So, it's curious.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting the way that you're thinking about that as well too, because I think about it as well because I don't think there is anything too late, right? So like to start off, I don't think it's ever too late to get online. I'm not saying that like you should go exclusively online. I don't think that retail's ever going to die because there'll always be a generation of people retail just like books. But I think what I think is really interesting about it is like you don't have to. I think there's this mindset that, oh, if I open up an online store, it has to be sold everywhere in the world. You don't have to do that. You can service smaller things. You can have only pickup only. You don't need to solve all your logistics. What you do need to do is have a place where your existing customers, all those people that you created brand following and loyalty, to be able to order online. When I was running New and we actually made that decision to pull away from the storefront, to build into a smaller warehouse, to just really work on the online experience. And we saw our revenue kind of just like move over from the in-store to online. We found that people who used to browse on our store, they just browsed online because they understood that already. They're already a people and buying habit, so you can't be thinking about that. Look, business owners are the scrappiest type of people out there. And when they're out there, they're looking to solve their problems. Yes, there's things that happen, but they need to figure that out. I mean, if you can't figure out how to get your business from retail into being able to spin up online, like your business probably had a lot of weak points to begin with as well, especially because people are searching for it. My favorite stores that I want to eat from, that I want to buy from right now, I'm searching them online wherever it is. And like all I do is search their keyword, right? Because that's all I know. And if I can't find them online, I've got to go find an alternative from them. But if you can have an online presence, you will be able to survive. Obviously, there's services and goods and products, but it's all about like, how do you pivot to make that easier? What if it's dry cleaning, for example? My parents own a dry cleaning place. Now, luckily for me and fortunate for me, they were already planning on retiring in September, so we just accelerated that together. So they closed their business down, or they're closing it, in the process of closing it down. But like I was telling them, I was like, we were talking about ideas that potentially could do things for them or whatever it may be. And I was like, well, we could set up an online portal where they can go and tell us what they need done, drop it in a bag, put it out front. And then every day you can go out into the bag, make sure that you're covered and clear. take care of the things that they need to take care of. And when it's done, you email them or you call them and let them know it's done. And when they come to the door, within a 5-minute window, you're putting it out on the door. Just getting creative. That's all it is. It's literally getting creative and redoing it. But it's nothing different than when you opened your retail store and you couldn't figure out where you wanted to put your mannequin or how you wanted the store to be laid out. It's just a different thing to navigate. And if you're fearful of this, this is where people, smart people that are out there, I mean, obviously unemployment's huge right now, but there's also, I would say, probably couple million digital marketers that are out there from both freelance to hire. This is your time to shine. Go find someone smart to help you. You don't have to do this yourself, but getting online is literally should be your number one goal right now. And it's not about just today and just the near immediate. It's for the future that continues to evolve. So I think we're hyper acceleration into the online world, digital space, and people don't care enough anymore that they want to go to a store anymore. And there's still going to be people, especially men, are more less inclined to go over to a store than a female is, of course. So because men don't like shopping generally, not generalizing it, but it's true. And I don't like shopping, for example. I don't think Amir does either. We don't care about shopping. We just want to get what we need and get out of there.
And I shop for my husband, so he doesn't like it either.
Exactly.
My wife buys my stuff, or I get shirts from work.
Yeah, but, exactly.
It's interesting. While you guys were saying that, it reminded me here in Carlsbad, where I live, one of these local boutiques. She sells just women's clothing at this small boutique. And I saw her sharing her online store that she'd put together because she was forced to be closed. And she was trying to promote that on Facebook. But I'd also purchased something from there one time. And it's the first time, probably 2 years ago. And it's the first time I ever got an email from her about anything. So that's just a great example of a small brick and mortar store that was forced to pivot and go online, but now she's still doing that. So I think right now she started with order pickups, and now she's starting shipping. So I think for a lot of people, you just have to take it one step at a time and not get overwhelmed by it being this huge process. And like Jimmy said, there's a lot of smart people out there that know how to do this and streamline everything already, so it's not left up to you 100%.
Totally.
Yeah,
and then
Go ahead. No, the only thing I was going to add to it is what's interesting about your story, Caitlin, is that she now has opened up her market tremendously, and she doesn't even realize how much. You no longer have to rely on foot traffic to walk by your little boutique store. You're now on the web, and you can be found everywhere in the web. Some lady in New Hampshire is going to buy her clothes. Some lady in Florida is going to buy her clothes. Someone in Brazil is going to buy her clothes, and it's going to be so much easier. And you're going to create more fans. And this is how you create a real brand, right? And this is the evolution of what small business changes like, I think, as well, too. And I know, Amir, I cut you off, but I don't know what else you had to add to that.
I was going to actually kind of echo exactly that, which is, when you think about online and you think about a physical store, being able to walk into a store, that's your storefront, that's your website, right? But when you start saying things like, okay, all those customers that might walk by my store and say, hey, she's got a sale going on today, I think I'll go pop in and take a look. Email does that for you, right? This communication channel does that for you, and it does it in a much wider scale. And there isn't a single brand where I think you look at them and say, hey, you know what? You're probably only really limited to your local market. We think about some of the biggest brands on Shopify. So anybody listening to this probably is familiar with Shopify. It's obviously one of the giants of e-commerce. Pura Vida bracelets, they sell. This is not high technology here. Okay, it's not high fashion. It's not complicated jewelry. It's a very simple product, but using modern digital marketing methodologies, they were able to grow $100 million brand. So no one is limited. That's what's really interesting too. Is not like, hey, when you open up this online business, it's not going to be an echo of a digital version of your physical store. It's a whole new ball game, and you can be just as big as the guy selling cotton bracelets, to the tune of $100 million a year.
For sure. So that's actually like a good kind of way to segment into a different topic that I kind of wanted to touch on, which is just kind of like the effect this has had on spending. Because I think there's a lot of psychological impact this has had in terms of spending. Like, first off, it's safer to just not go to the store right now. And second, I think, you know, at least from my perspective, and I can't be the only one, retail therapy is a real thing, especially when there's nothing for us to really do. You know, we can't go to the store. It made me realize how much time I spent, you know, if I was going to Target or going to the grocery store or just like perusing a store. So I think that's also kind of interesting. And I wonder, you know, how that's having an impact on a lot of brands, seeing that like spike kind of go up, not just for new generations that are learning how to shop online, but for current generations that already use online, increasing their spending habits.
Oh,
Totally.
Yeah. Go ahead, Amir. You got it.
Hey, man, like that is an amazing topic because we're talking about disposable income. We're talking about an increase in the ability to spend. If I'm spending $100 a week on going out with my family, and now I don't spend that $100 a week on going out with my family, I have $100 extra to spend on goods and services online. That's huge. If you're a digital business and you're selling products online, you know, we're talking an across-the-board increase in the ability to spend.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't even think just the ability to spend is really big. Is that I think something that the big changes in the buyer mentality as well too. I think this is going to be really interesting to track in the long run, but I think the bigger impact is that an online purchase is much easier to do as far as like the impulse and the buying cycle of that. This shortens that buying cycle as well too. So like I tend to, let's just pretend like I'm looking at a camera online, right? And I'm looking at buying a camera. There's probably a better chance that I can go from the idea of the camera to the buying decision much faster because I'm going to read reviews, articles, and get to my buying decision a lot faster than if I were to walk into, let's use Best Buy as an example. I walk into Best Buy, I look at this camera, then I look at this camera, then I look at this camera, and I'm looking at all the cameras, but I don't know what to buy. Then I have to go home, think about it, go on my tech articles, think about it some more, do some research, ask my friends, go on Facebook. But when you are online, you shorten the exact style of a person's buying. And then secondary, you have things like PayPal, you have Venmo, you've got all these different payment options that feel like you're not really using cash, which is also another weird part of it impulsively. When you're pulling out your wallet and putting cash on the table or using your card to swipe, that mentality, that you can feel it because you're thinking about it. But the change of buying habit of someone who's just clicking on a mouse is completely different now, right?
Yeah.
And then to layer it onto kind of like what you said about God, I'm blanking in my head right now. What did you just say just 2 seconds ago? Sorry.
About the opening up the opportunities, or
no. What did you say to Caitlin's answer, real quick? And this is good because I had it in my head. I just forgot it.
Sorry, I think I'm blanking as well.
We're all looking at each other.
Like if you're not going out and you have an extra $100.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's the other part I was going to say. And to echo Amir's side of things, I thought was really cool was that you're right. Like people have more money because they're not being as frivolous anymore. And Caitlin said it, retail therapy, right? Now her retail therapy is spending money or buying things and getting things in boxes. That's now her change. They say it takes 21 days to institute a change in anybody, right? And over the last 2-3 months, all she's gotten for her retail therapy is a box. And in that box has something good. So next time Caitlin gets a box, she's going to immediately, her endorphins are going to increase. She's going to be excited because she's getting her retail therapy. And I think that, again, that gratification changes again. And we've built habits now. It's crazy, but like this amount of time is going to build new habits in people. And now anybody who's thinking about, I'm going to go buy something, they're not going to be thinking about the store because now they know there's a deadly thing that's floating in the air that could potentially kill them. Or they can go online and someone will bring it to them on their door. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
We are in the world of laziness right now. We're in the world of services and people bringing us stuff. I get my groceries delivered to me these days. I mean, why the heck do I even want to go into a grocery store anymore? I just pick my things and I tell it to come. Yeah, it's messed up half the time, but it's close enough, you know?
And I think that for myself, the companies that are really winning are the ones who make it easy to do like returns or exchanges or have great customer service, because when you have that like trusting relationship with a customer, for example, Wayfair, I've ordered something from there once that I had an issue with. They fixed it within like 48 hours, amazing customer service. So now I tell my friend who's furnishing her new house, well, if you have to order something right now, since you can't go to the store, you should do it on Wayfair because they have great customer service and a return policy. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand. Like, yes, we're shopping online, but we're also being picky in a sense where we order from, because when you are shopping online, like Jimmy said, with that camera, you are taking the risk that maybe when you're holding it in your hands, it doesn't meet your expectations. So that's kind of how I've been, which is why we love Amazon. But another thought I had while you guys were talking, Amazon, when this first happened, was having a lot of issues with shipping. So majority of their products weren't available for Prime, and it was going to take a month to get something, which was like, we can't even grasp that in 2020, waiting a month to get a product from Amazon. So I was buying a lot of stuff elsewhere. So during that time, I actually explored some new brands in other stores that I ordered from. So I thought that was kind of interesting that for a lot of us, we were kind of forced to look for an Amazon alternative or shop elsewhere, which I think could have been an interesting opportunity for some brands online.
Oh, dude, creating good experiences that differentiate from Amazon right now is, I think, a huge area of opportunity. Like Jimmy kind of talked about this, where you have a huge opportunity to convert right now, right? People have extra money. They don't want to leave their house. It's really easy to buy. So if you ensure that you have all those things that make people feel good and you convert and you give them that good experience, you will grow. And you know, look, I have friends that run drop shipping businesses and you know, for anybody listening that doesn't know what that means, essentially a drop ship means that you don't store your product in your own warehouse. You go make a deal, they have everything on their end, they take care of the shipping, you just sell the product, right? These guys are selling thousands of orders a day. And you're like, wait a second, this is just a drop ship product, which means it's not completely unique, right? The experience of the store is not completely unique. You can go and buy the same product from Amazon. So why is he selling so much? And it really comes down to he's taking care of the client, he's being responsive, and when he gets the opportunity to sell, he closes it down and he makes sure that he can deliver. You know?
Yeah.
So he actually uses SendLane, just, you know, not to kind of like talk specifically about us, but in this case, he had a product that had, he was saying, hey, 3-day shipping, right? Using SendLane, he had a particular product that had a 2-week delay. So he put it an email on a 3-day cadence to hit that client on that particular product with a 2-week delay to say, hey, your product's coming, until that cadence reached a fulfilled, like, hey, the product's status went from not fulfilled to fulfilled in Shopify. So now we know that. So he can send, hey, now your product's been delivered. So he's constantly keeping in communication with his clients, and he says, hey, man, that's my number one thing. I don't know what I'm doing. This is by the way, he's been running this store for about 1.5 years, right? It's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but what I know is as long as I can keep these people happy, they will come back and buy from me. So, you know, there are a host of tools. When you're going digital, there are a host of tools that are kind of like standard operated. If you were a soldier, this would be like, you know, assigned to you by the government. Like, it's key. And like knowing that you need to take advantage of Facebook, take advantage of email, if appropriate, use SMS, use these tools. So I think the number one thing I would say to any brand is, like Jimmy said, don't wait. It's always a good time to go digital, but make sure you learn how to do it the right way. So things like even customer service, you know? So
anyway. Yeah, you're right. I think you guys are both right on a lot of things. It's just the experience is changing, and I think that's the biggest thing for anybody who's going from like this to going from that retail brick and mortar to online into the world, is like really understanding, like, yes, I understand like websites and, you know, all the technology side, but how are you guys positioning yourself to take care of your customer? How are you communicating to your customers? You can still call them, of course, but that's not scalable, especially over time. So it's like making sure that you understand what it is. And I think what Amir said, like, great tools, technology, that's all very important. But I still go back to the first thing is like, there's a lot of great people out there as well, too, that you're probably going to need in your company as well, too. So in order to do it, you're going to have to invest in somebody to help you get there as well too, because, I'm sure if you're brick and mortar and you have no online experience, you probably don't have an employee staff at this time. They're either furloughed or you've let them go at this point. It's probably a great time to think about hiring people when there are people out there. Don't just hire the first great person that comes during the door, but make sure you're interviewing plenty of people so you can find that right person, but find that right person to help you and lead you to get back online. You are rebuilding your store. You're rebuilding your brand. If you have a great brand and local community, you will strive and survive. If you've been taking care of your customers, you will strive. You will thrive and survive as well too. If you've got a crap product and you haven't been taking care of your customers, well, that online experience will probably transfer and you probably will die anyways. So just be real with yourself when you know that this next journey of your business and you being an entrepreneur or whatever you are, to go out there and do something cool at this new business or whatever, that you're set and prepared, but you're also knowledgeable. But don't hesitate waiting for that right person either. There's this balance, right? It's you got to make sure you're good, but don't do it too much when you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, Jimmy, you beat me to it, because I was going to say before we get off this call, I wanted to ask each of you kind of what was your little golden nugget of advice? So I'm going to say that was yours. Find the right person.
Yeah.
Okay, Amir.
I mean, mine would be to not, and just to kind of echo a little bit of piggybacking off of Jimmy's earlier points as well, is just to not wait. Find the right people, but go for it. It's a good time. This is a huge opportunity, and opportunities really is where everyone is made. Take advantage of it.
Yeah, what you just said there. They say only opportunities are made in crisis. This is the crisis. This is my third recession that I've lived through, and I can tell you that this one's been the most interesting for me because it's actually been the only one that hasn't completely disrupted me. The first time I was in school to be in computer science, that blew up. Second time I was in the car business, that blew up. So the third time's a charm for me right now, and we're in a good place as an internet business. But obviously, we've been fortunate and all that good stuff. But it's a good time to go out and try something new. If you're going to succeed, this is the time to succeed. It's not going to be a year from now when everything's cool and everything's back to normal, because it's too late at that point. The buying habits are changed. Well, it's not too late, but you're far behind. Might as well use this time. You're sitting at home. You can't go sit at your store. You might as well go do something about it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then just going off what you guys said, the right people, but I also really believe it's the right tools as well. Making sure the people you're hiring also understand the tools available to you. So like Jimmy and Amir were saying, if you are that person that's pivoting to doing things online and say you're going to set up on Shopify, be aware of all the different tools out there that easily integrate with Shopify, like SendLane. We're not the only ESP in existence, but something like that makes it a lot easier for you to do all these things, because once you understand the power of all these different tools and how they work together, it's a lot less overwhelming. So
100%.
That's what I would add to that. But all right, guys, totally. I feel like this was a good topic, and we at least got to get together kind of in our own houses. You get to see where we're all living right now. This is where we've been for 2.5 months now. But yeah, thanks guys. I appreciate you being a part of this chat. And, for our listeners, I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. Hopefully we'll be out of this scenario that we're in soon, but nonetheless, we really appreciate you tuning in and listening, and we hope that you're all staying safe and staying as positive as you possibly can be. And we'll catch you next time on the next episode of the Marketing Automation Hustle. All right, guys.
See you, Caitlin. Bye, guys.
See ya.